Energy signatures stabilizing. Admiral, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson from the tactical station. They're attempting to scan us, but the quantum diffusion field is holding. Admiral Chen nodded, her expression betraying nothing as she studied the holographic representation of the alien vessel. Its design was exactly as Earth's deep space monitoring had predicted, ornate, almost ceremonial, with the distinctive oral patterns that intelligence had identified as belonging to the Conclave's diplomatic court. The Phoenix had been tracking the visitor since it emerged from the spatial fold near Neptune's orbit, though the aliens clearly believed they were making a surprise approach. Visual sensors are picking up activity on their outer hull, Jackson continued. Looks like they're deploying some kind of communication array. Chen exchanged glances with Dr. Elena Novak, Earth's foremost xenolinguist. They'll be broadcasting the standard greeting package, Novak confirmed, her augmented reality interface scrolling with predictive algorithms, exactly as intercepted from 17 previous first contact scenarios. How disappointing, Chen murmured, allowing herself a small smile. I had hoped for something more original. The bridge crew maintained professional composure, though many shared knowing looks. For decades, Earth had monitored the Conclave's activities, learning their languages, studying their technology, and preparing for this inevitable moment. What the aliens couldn't know was that humanity had developed along an entirely different technological path than any other known species, one focused on quantum manipulation rather than conventional energy projection. Should I initiate our response, Admiral? Asked Communications Officer Rivera. Chen considered the alien vessel for a moment longer. Not yet. Let them sweat a little. She tapped a command into her neural interface. Tactical, bring our secondary hull matrix online. Let's show them something impressive. Outside in the void of space, the Phoenix's external appearance began to transform. Nanomaterial plates shifted and realigned, revealing previously hidden weapon systems and energy projectors. The effect was calculated, not to threaten, but to demonstrate capabilities far beyond what the Conclave would expect from a pre-contact civilization. Signal incoming, Rivera announced. Text and audio on multiple bandwidths. They're trying very hard to be understood. Captain, Jackson interjected, their energy readings just spiked. I think we scared them. Good, Chen replied calmly. Dr. Novak, please compose a response in all 12 of their formal diplomatic dialects. Include references to their most recent conclave session regarding expansion policy. Let's be specific enough that they understand we've been listening. The bridge fell silent as the implications settled. This wasn't just first contact. It was humanity revealing a deception maintained for generations. Earth had detected alien communications during what historians now called the Silent Decade, when global quantum listening posts had intercepted transmissions never meant for human ears. Message ready, Admiral, Novak confirmed after a moment. Chen straightened her uniform and nodded to the communications officer. Open a channel using their preferred quantum frequency. Visual and audio. She paused, then added, and Rivera, make sure our translation matrix corrects their inevitable grammatical errors in real time. A small courtesy between equals. As the view screen activated to reveal the first aliens humanity would officially meet, Admiral Chen allowed herself one final thought of satisfaction. The Phoenix had been built not just as a warship, but as the physical embodiment of a message. Humanity would enter the galactic stage not as supplicants or curiosities, but as equals who had earned their place among the stars through ingenuity and patience. This is Admiral Kara Chen of the Terran Defense Force vessel Phoenix, she stated clearly as the alien faces appeared on screen. Welcome to Earth space. We've been expecting you for quite some time. First Resonance's crystalline appendages trembled almost imperceptibly as Ambassador Okafor led the delegation deeper into the Phoenix. The diplomatic deck had been impressive enough, but the central atrium of the warship left the aliens visibly stunned. A vast open space stretched nearly 12 decks high, with gravity oriented in multiple directions to allow crew members to walk along what would appear to be walls and ceilings to an earthbound perspective. "This is our community space," Okafor explained casually, as if artificial gravity manipulation at this level was commonplace. "The Phoenix carries a complement of 4,000 personnel representing every continent on Earth." "Impossible," whispered Sub-Counselor Vrex, a reptilian diplomat whose scales had taken on a pale blue hue of distress. "A vessel with these capabilities would require centuries of development beyond primitive rocketry." Okafor smiled politely. "Perhaps your assessment protocols need refinement. Our first chemical rockets launched nearly 2 centuries ago by Earth reckoning." The delegation watched as off-duty crew members engaged in various activities throughout the atrium. Some played 3-dimensional ball games in null-gravity chambers, while others tended to garden spaces with plants from across Earth. What appeared most disturbing to the visitors was the casual nature of it all. Humanity had achieved what many conclave species considered near-mythical technology, yet treated it as unremarkable. "You mentioned earlier that Earth has built 17 vessels of this class." First Resonance inquired, crystal structure pulsing with frequencies that human translators identified as anxiety. "The Phoenix class, yes," Okafor confirmed as they entered a transparent tube elevator. "They form our exploratory and diplomatic fleet. Our defensive platforms and specialized vessels fall under different classifications." She gestured toward the viewports as they ascended. "You can see one of our companion vessels taking position at 3 o'clock." The aliens crowded against the transparent walls as a second massive ship, the TDF Hyperion, decloaked at a distance of 5 kilometers. Unlike the Phoenix's sleek design, the Hyperion featured massive circular arrays and sensor dishes, a vessel clearly designed for scientific research rather than combat. "You've achieved perfect cloaking technology," stated Tilar, the insectoid representative, mandibles clicking rapidly. The Conclave declared such technology theoretically impossible after the Quantum Wars. "So we've read in your archives," Okafor replied. "Our approach differs fundamentally from previous attempts. Rather than bending light, we phase shift matter partially outside conventional space-time." The elevator arrived at the observatory deck, a circular chamber with a transparent dome, offering an unobstructed view of Earth below and the starfield above. Holographic displays activated automatically, showing detailed schematics of the Sol system's defense grid, industrial capacity, and population centers. "Why show us this?" First Resonance asked, vibrating at frequencies indicating deep concern. "Such information would typically be classified." Okafor's expression remained diplomatic, but took on a subtle firmness. "Transparency serves a purpose, honored representatives. Earth has monitored conclave communications long enough to understand how first contact scenarios typically unfold. Species deemed primitive are often guided toward development paths beneficial to established powers." She gestured toward Earth below, its night side glittering with city lights. "We're showing you our capabilities not as a threat, but as context. Humanity enters galactic society as equals, not as subjects to be developed or resources to be managed." First Resonance's crystalline body shifted hues slowly, the equivalent of a thoughtful nod. "You've been monitoring our communications for decades, yet we detected nothing from Earth except basic radio transmissions and satellite activity." "An intentional posture," Okafor confirmed. "We call it the Silent Protocol." Earth unified under a single purpose after discovering we weren't alone: to ensure humanity would never be colonized. She smiled again, this time with genuine warmth. "Now shall we discuss trade agreements and cultural exchange as equals? I believe the Galactic Conclave will find Earth has much to offer beyond our technological innovations." Captain Santos maintained perfect composure as the Grand Arbiter, a gaseous entity contained within an ornate mobile environment suit, floated down from the highest tier of the chamber. The Conclave's ultimate authority rarely addressed newcomers directly, but the revelation of Earth vessels bypassing their defense grid had forced unprecedented measures. "Human," the Arbiter's translated voice echoed through the chamber. Your species has deceived the Conclave for decades. Such actions typically warrant sanction." Santos nodded respectfully. "With all due respect, Grand Arbiter, Earth practiced observation, not deception. Your monitoring stations categorized Sol as a pre-contact system, and we simply allowed that categorization to remain uncorrected." A ripple of murmurs spread through the assembled representatives. The humans' calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the typical reverence and apprehension shown before the Arbiter. "Observer records indicate your world launched primitive chemical rockets merely 70 cycles ago," the DeLorean ambassador interjected, tentacles gesturing at holographic records. "Yet now you appear with phase shift technology and artificial gravity manipulation. Explain this discrepancy." Santos tapped his neural interface, and the chamber's central display shifted to show Earth's technological development timeline. Humanity's advancement accelerated dramatically after the Unified Science Accord of 2079. Once we detected non-terrestrial communications and confirmed we weren't alone, our entire civilization reprioritized. The timeline expanded, showing key technological breakthroughs: quantum entanglement communications, gravitational manipulation, fusion containment, and finally, the phase shift drive that allowed Earth vessels to move partially outside normal spacetime. "Notice that our development path differs fundamentally from Conclave standards," Santos continued. "We never discovered the quantum corridor network because we were exploring different principles entirely. When we intercepted communications about the corridor system, we simply designed our technology to remain compatible but independent." The Zrill ambassador, a massive arthropoid with gleaming carapace implants, moved forward aggressively. "The human speaks of interception as if it were trivial. Our encryption protocols are the most sophisticated in known space." Santos smiled slightly. "Indeed they are, Ambassador. For the methods they were designed to counter. Earth's quantum decryption approach operates on different principles." He paused, carefully choosing his next words. "Perhaps this highlights the advantage of developing in isolation. Without established technological dogma, we explored paths others had abandoned or never considered." The Grand Arbiter's containment suit pulsed with colors indicating deep consideration. "You claim 5 vessels currently hold position outside our defense sphere. Verify this assertion." Santos nodded toward his communications officer, who transmitted a simple signal. Moments later, the chamber's massive observation dome revealed 5 Earth vessels, decloaking at precise intervals around the Conclave station. Unlike the diplomatic Phoenix, these ships featured distinctive angular designs optimized for energy projection and defense. "The Sentinel fleet," Santos explained calmly. "Standard escort protocol for diplomatic missions to unknown territories." "Unknown territories?" The Novan representative's voice rose in pitch. "This is the center of galactic civilization." "From your perspective," Santos acknowledged. "From ours, it's our first official diplomatic engagement with an alien governance body." The Grand Arbiter hovered silently for several moments, the gas within its containment suit swirling in complex patterns that the most experienced diplomats present couldn't interpret. Finally, it addressed the chamber. "In 12,000 cycles of conclave history, no species has entered our chambers as humanity has today." Its translated voice seemed to carry a note of what might be respect. "Captain Santos, Earth clearly values security and independence. What does humanity seek from the conclave?" Santos stood straighter, his expression shifting from diplomatic neutrality to genuine earnestness. "What any sentient species ultimately desires, Grand Arbiter: peaceful coexistence, mutual advancement, and the assurance that our children will inherit a universe of possibilities rather than constraints. Earth comes prepared for either path, cooperation or isolation, but strongly prefers the former." Commander Wright watched with clinical detachment as the Tarian Raiders vessels hung suspended in the blue energy field. Her shuttle's transformation had occurred in less than 3 seconds, panels sliding away to reveal defense systems that, according to conclave technology progression charts, should be impossible for any species with less than 1,000 years of spacefaring development. "Your technology," whispered Vaxlor, the Procyon ambassador, his fur standing on end with a mixture of fear and awe. "It violates fundamental laws of energy conservation." Wright smiled slightly. "It only violates the models currently accepted by the Conclave, Ambassador. Human understanding of particle entanglement led us down a different path." She turned to her tactical officer. "Lieutenant Capper, status of the Raider crews." "All vital signs stable, Commander," Capper reported, monitoring a holographic display. "Their systems are completely neutralized, but life support remains functional. The temporal distortion field is maintaining a 1:100 ratio. They are experiencing this encounter at 1/100th normal speed." The Conclave representatives exchanged alarmed glances at this casual mention of temporal manipulation, a technology their scientists had deemed theoretically possible but pragmatically unattainable. Meanwhile, Wright opened a direct channel to the lead raider vessel, whose captain appeared frozen in the midst of shouting orders. "This is Commander Diana Wright of Earth Diplomatic Corps," she stated, her voice calibrated to penetrate the temporal field and reach the raiders at their slowed time rate. "Your unprovoked aggression against a diplomatic vessel has been documented and will be reported to Conclave authorities. We are transferring control of your vessels to the Proxima Station security forces. Your crews will remain unharmed if no further hostile action is attempted." She nodded to Capper, who entered a sequence of commands. The autonomous defense platforms surrounding the shuttle, previously invisible to both Conclave and Taurine sensors, repositioned themselves around the raider vessels, attaching specialized devices to their hulls. "Phase lock anchors," Wright explained to the bewildered diplomats. "They'll allow Proxima security to tow the raiders without risk of their weapons or engines reactivating." Ambassador Telshaw, a bioluminescent aquatic being housed in a hovering water sphere, pulsed with patterns indicating extreme agitation. "Commander, the Taurine are notorious for their advanced sensor technology. How did your platforms avoid detection? Even our most sophisticated stealth systems cannot evade their scanners." Wright gestured toward the viewing portal, where the defense platforms now gleamed with a subtle iridescence. "Phase shifting," she said simply. "The platforms exist partially outside conventional spacetime until activated. They cannot be detected because, in a very real sense, they aren't fully present until needed." The shuttle resumed its course toward Proxima Station, leaving behind the suspended raider fleet now surrounded by approaching Conclave security vessels. Inside, the alien diplomats whispered among themselves, occasionally glancing at the human crew members who had returned to their duties, as if the incident had been nothing more than a minor inconvenience. "Commander," Ambassador Vaxlor finally asked, his voice lowered, "if a simple diplomatic shuttle carries such defensive capabilities, what might an actual Earth warship do?" Wright considered the question for a moment before responding. "Ambassador, Earth developed in isolation, constantly competing against ourselves. Our history is filled with conflicts that pushed our technology toward both destruction and protection." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "When we detected the first Conclave transmissions 80 years ago, our leaders made a unified decision. Humanity would enter the galactic community from a position of unassailable security." The shuttle's communication system chimed, interrupting the tense conversation. "Proxima Station Control to Earth Shuttle Emissary. We've registered an incident with Taurine vessels. Do you require assistance?" Wright smiled at the irony as she responded. "Negative. Proxima Control. Situation resolved. We are proceeding to docking bay as scheduled. Please inform station security that they have several vessels to process. We've taken the liberty of delivering them gift-wrapped." Senior Archivist Tanaka paused before a massive circular vault door inscribed with symbols from hundreds of human languages. The Conclave Historical Committee members shifted uncomfortably, their various sensory appendages detecting the immense energy field containing what lay beyond. "What you are about to see," Tanaka explained, "remains humanity's most closely guarded historical record. The complete war archive contains unfiltered documentation of every human conflict, from tribal skirmishes to our final global unification wars. The vault door rotated smoothly, revealing a chamber that seemed to stretch impossibly far for an underground structure. Holographic displays activated sequentially, creating a three-dimensional timeline of human warfare spanning thousands of years. Remarkable preservation, noted Chief Historian Velox, her chitinous exoskeleton clicking softly as she moved toward the nearest display. Most species deliberately obscure their violent histories when joining galactic society. Tanaka smiled wryly. Earth took the opposite approach. Our conflicts defined us. The technologies that eventually took us to the stars were born in warfare before being redirected toward exploration. The committee members dispersed throughout the chamber, each drawn to different displays. Some examined primitive weapons, spears, swords, and bows, while others were captivated by the rapid technological escalation of the 20th century. The nuclear weapons display drew particular attention, with several historians recording detailed observations. Your species developed fusion weapons before achieving reliable spaceflight, asked junior historian Pell, a gaseous entity whose containment suit glowed with patterns indicating disbelief. The chronology violates standard development paradigms. Human development rarely followed standard paradigms, Tanaka replied, guiding the group toward the central display platform. This is what I particularly wanted to show you. The platform activated, revealing a holographic representation of Earth during what historians called the Silent Decade, the 10 years following humanity's first detection of alien communications. The display showed the rapid construction of quantum listening posts throughout the solar system, all carefully disguised as research stations or commercial satellites. You monitored our communications for decades before we detected you, stated Velox, her tone neutral but her posture indicating profound reassessment. Most remarkable. Tanaka nodded. The Quantum Interception Network represented the first truly global human project. Nations that had been enemies for centuries united in a common purpose, understanding potential alien civilizations before making contact. A holographic display shifted, showing the subsequent development of Earth's defensive capabilities, scientific advancements, and industrial expansion, all carefully concealed from external observation. Your species achieved unified purpose through perceived external threat, observed Senior Examiner Tolvek, a crystalline entity whose facets reflected the holographic light in complex patterns. Yet you claim human conflict drove innovation. Both statements are true, Tanaka explained, directing the committee toward the final section of the archive. Competition and cooperation exist in balance for humans. We competed fiercely among ourselves until we discovered we weren't alone. Then we competed with the possibility of encountering hostile alien civilizations. The final display showed the current state of human civilization, a unified Earth government, orbital habitats throughout the solar system, and the emerging framework of humanity's first interstellar colonies. This adaptive duality explains much, Velox concluded, making rapid notations in her personal database. Your species developed defensive capabilities first, then revealed yourselves only when you felt secure. Tanaka's expression became more serious. Earth's unified directive has never been aggression or conquest. We simply ensured that first contact would occur on terms that guaranteed our survival. The chief historian's recording appendage paused. And if the conclave had discovered Earth before you were prepared, if our exploratory vessels had arrived while your defenses were still developing. Tanaka gestured toward a small display the committee had overlooked, a detailed contingency plan labeled Extinction Protocol. We had preparations for that scenario as well, she said quietly. Humanity was determined to remain free, regardless of technological disparities. Fortunately, we now have the opportunity to meet as equals instead. Admiral Chen studied the dimensional rift's energy patterns on the horizon's main view screen. The anomaly pulsed with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space, its boundaries expanding at an accelerating rate that matched Earth's most pessimistic projections. The conclave evacuation protocols are proceeding, Admiral, reported Science Officer Nakamura from her station. but their estimates suggest less than 40% of the affected populations can be relocated before the rift reaches critical expansion. Chen nodded grimly. The observation deck had fallen silent as both human and alien scientists processed the implications. Billions of lives across dozens of systems hung in the balance, with the Conclave's most advanced technology proving inadequate against this unprecedented threat. High Scientist Vorn. Chen addressed the spindly, multi-limbed alien who represented the Conclave Science Directorate. Your models indicate the rift originated from experiments with dimensional folding at your Meridian research facility, correct? Vorn's translucent skin flushed with bioluminescent patterns indicating distress. Correct, Admiral. The research was intended to create more efficient travel corridors. We never anticipated this outcome. Yet you continued experimenting despite 3 previous containment failures, Chen observed, her tone matter-of-fact rather than accusatory. Our analysis of your research protocols shows a fundamental misunderstanding of transdimensional mechanics. The alien scientists exchanged uncomfortable glances. Earth's sudden emergence on the galactic stage had been disruptive enough, but the humans' casual identification of flaws in established conclave science was causing even greater upheaval in academic circles. The deployment window for the dimensional anchors closes in 17 minutes, announced Commander Liu, checking the specialized chronometers synchronized across all 7 Earth vessels. We need to begin positioning now if we're going to attempt containment. Chen turned to address the assembled alien observers. What you're about to witness has never been tested at this scale. Earth developed this technology theoretically, but the principles are sound. She activated the tactical display, showing the precise formation the Earth ships would take around the rift. Each vessel would deploy specialized equipment developed through humanity's unique approach to quantum physics, technology that existed partially outside conventional understanding. You intend to collapse the rift rather than merely contain it, asked Vorn, his appendages trembling slightly as he studied the human calculations. The energy discharge could destroy your vessels. The containment fields should redirect most of the energy back into the closing rift, Chen explained. This creates a feedback loop that accelerates the collapse. The Horizon's engines hummed to life as the Earth fleet moved into position. From the observation deck, the alien scientists watched with a mixture of hope and skepticism as the 7 vessels achieved perfect synchronization around the pulsing anomaly. Dimensional anchors deploying, reported Liu, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Quantum entanglement established across all nodes. What followed left even the most experienced conclave physicists speechless. 7 brilliant beams of coherent energy. Not light, but something more fundamental, connected the Earth ships to the rift's perimeter. Where the beams touched the dimensional boundary, reality itself seemed to fold and stitch together, like fabric being mended by an invisible hand. Remarkable, whispered Vorn, recording everything with specialized instruments. Your species isolated the quantum binding forces that our theories predicted but could never manipulate. Chen allowed herself a small smile as the rift began to contract. Sometimes an outside perspective reveals solutions that established thinking cannot see. Earth developed in isolation, which forced us to explore unconventional approaches. The observation deck erupted in exclamations of astonishment as the rift collapsed in on itself with unexpected speed, leaving behind only a shimmering echo in space-time that quickly faded to nothing. The threatened systems were saved, and the conclave representatives found themselves facing an uncomfortable reality. Humanity had solved in days a crisis their civilization couldn't address with centuries of accumulated knowledge. How did you develop this technology without access to our scientific archives? Vorn finally asked, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotions behind his question. Sometimes, Chen replied thoughtfully. Not knowing what's supposedly impossible is the greatest advantage of all. Dr. Marcus Chen observed the tactical display as the combined human conclave fleet maneuvered into the formation his team had designated Mobius Defense. The swarm entity, a churning mass of particulate matter that seemed to phase between dimensions, had already consumed 3 star systems at the galaxy's edge. The entity is accelerating, reported Fleet Commander Jen of the Conclave Forces, his reptilian features tightening with concern. Conventional weapons continue to pass through it without effect. Marcus nodded, making minute adjustments to the holographic battle plan. As expected, the swarm exists partially outside normal spacetime, similar to our phase shift technology, but far more comprehensive. Around them, the Joint Command Center aboard the human flagship Odyssey hummed with activity as human and alien tacticians worked side by side. What had begun as reluctant cooperation had evolved into genuine collaboration as the threat's severity became clear. Phase shift modulators deployed and ready, announced Lieutenant Commander Park from the weapons station. All 27 Conclave battle cruisers have been equipped and synchronized. Marcus turned to address the assembled fleet commanders. The modified weapons will force the swarm to fully materialize in our dimension when struck. That brief phase lock creates our engagement window. The alien commanders studied the human battle plan with newfound respect. Initial skepticism had given way to cautious optimism after preliminary skirmishes proved the effectiveness of human tactical innovations. Your species developed these countermeasures with remarkable speed, observed High Commander Vexlor, whose crystalline species had lost a colony world to the swarm. Our scientists spent cycles attempting solutions without success. Necessity drives innovation, Marcus replied simply. Earth's history taught us to prepare for threats we cannot yet imagine. The tactical display flashed red as sensors detected the swarm entity's approach. The massive cloud of dimensional particles accelerated toward the waiting fleet, its leading edge shifting and pulsing like a living thing. All vessels, assume Mobius formation, ordered General Alvarez, her voice calm despite the tension permeating the command center. Remember your training. Phase lock must be achieved simultaneously, or the entity will adapt. The combined fleet executed the complex maneuver with precision that would have been impossible weeks earlier. Human vessels took the forward positions, their advanced shields configured to withstand the swarm's dimensional fluctuations, while conclave ships formed a secondary array focusing their newly modified weapons. Entity entering primary engagement zone in 30 seconds, reported Park. Phase shift modulators at full charge. Marcus watched as the final pieces fell into place. The battle plan represented a true synthesis of human and alien thinking. Earth's revolutionary understanding of dimensional physics merged with the Conclave's vast industrial and military resources. Commence primary sequence, Alvarez commanded. What followed stunned even the most experienced Conclave commanders. The human vessels released specialized probes that accelerated toward the swarm, creating a complex energy pattern that forced the entity to condense as it attempted to consume them. Simultaneously, the modified conclave weapons fired, striking the momentarily materialized swarm with devastating effect. Phase lock achieved, Park announced. Entity is materializing across 87% of its mass structure. The command center erupted in focused activity as the second stage of the battle plan initiated. Conclave vessels executed a pincer movement that would have been impossible against the partially phased entity, but now trapped the materialized swarm between converging fields of fire. The containment protocol is working, Marcus observed, monitoring energy readings from the entity. We're seeing cascading failures throughout its structure. High Commander Vexlor's crystalline form shimmered with what humans had learned to recognize as their equivalent of astonishment. Your battle plan assumed the entity operates through a distributed consciousness. How could you know this without previous encounter? General Alvarez answered as Marcus continued monitoring the tactical displays. Human history includes warfare against both centralized and distributed opponents. We developed countermeasures for threats we never faced, simply because we could imagine them. As the swarm entity began to disintegrate under the combined assault, the assembled commanders witnessed more than a military victory. They observed the birth of a new approach to galactic defense, one that combined humanity's innovative thinking with the Conclave's established strength. The Concordia's vast hangar bay fell silent as Admiral Chen and First Resonance approached the podium together. Behind them, the final preparations for the ship's maiden voyage continued as engineering teams, human and alien working seamlessly together, ran last-minute diagnostics on the revolutionary hybrid propulsion system. One standard year ago, Admiral Chen began, her voice carrying effortlessly through the cavernous space. The Phoenix emerged from Earth's shadow to greet your exploratory vessel. Many of you expected that encounter to follow the standard first contact protocols established over millennia of conclave expansion. A ripple of appreciative murmurs spread through the assembled dignitaries. What had begun as a shocking disruption to galactic politics had evolved into something few could have predicted: genuine partnership. Instead, First Resonance continued, crystal structure pulsing with harmonics that the translation system rendered perfectly. We discovered that humanity had been observing our civilization for decades, developing technologies that followed entirely different principles from our own, and preparing for a first contact that would ensure their independence. The Concordia itself represented this new reality. The massive vessel incorporated both human phase shift technology and conclave quantum corridor navigation, allowing it to traverse the galaxy using either method or a synchronized combination of both. Its hull featured sections designed by 6 different species, each contributing unique approaches to material science and structural engineering. The ship we launched today carries more than our combined technologies, Chen continued, gesturing toward the diverse crew assembled nearby. It carries a new philosophy for space exploration. The Concordia's primary mission isn't conquest or even pure scientific discovery. It's the search for understanding across species and methodologies. Observation drones circulated throughout the hangar, broadcasting the ceremony to trillions of viewers across thousands of worlds. For many conclave citizens, this represented their first direct exposure to humans beyond news reports and official announcements. When I first encountered Admiral Chen's vessel, First Resonance admitted, I experienced what humans call fear, not merely of their technology, but of what their emergence might mean for the established order. Would these newcomers disrupt the stability we had maintained for millennia? The crystalline diplomat structure shifted into a pattern that translated as thoughtful reflection. In retrospect, such disruption was precisely what our civilization needed. Humanity challenged our assumptions about technological development, governance, and even the nature of intelligence itself. Admiral Chen smiled slightly, and the conclave challenged humanity's tendency toward isolation and self-reliance. Together, we have begun creating something greater than either civilization could achieve alone. The hangar bay's massive doors began to part, revealing the star-filled void beyond Earth's orbital shipyard. The Concordia would depart within the hour, beginning its mission to explore regions of the galaxy previously considered too distant or dangerous for conventional exploration. The ship's name was chosen deliberately, Chen explained as the ceremony neared its conclusion. Concordia, harmony among differences, not the elimination of what makes us unique, but the celebration of how our distinctions create strength when unified by common purpose. First Resonance extended a crystalline appendage, which Admiral Chen clasped in a gesture that had become the standard greeting between their species. The Conclave once classified Earth as a world of interest only for future development. How fortunate that humanity developed on its own terms instead, and in doing so, helped us rediscover our own potential for growth. As the newly commissioned crew, a mixture of humans and representatives from 27 conclave species, took their positions, Admiral Chen reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. Earth had prepared for first contact expecting potential hostility, building warships as a precaution against the unknown. Now those same vessels served alongside conclave ships, their combined capabilities creating a defense network that had already saved countless lives. The Concordia, she announced as the launch countdown began, represents not just where we are, but where we might go together. The new frontier awaits not at the edge of known space, but in the unlimited potential of our combined knowledge.